Hello and welcome. I am Biradu, coach of the Atacama Ternatas, and today we're going to be finally doing draft analysis for BHDL Season 4. Yes, you heard it right. BHDL is back with a new logo, and we're going to be doing, as always, the draft analysis for the Atacama Ternatas this season. So, a little bit of an explanation for this season. It's going to be 16 coaches as always. The budget for us became a little higher. Where we all now have 115 points to draft our team, which is a blessing for us because it was really hard to draft last season with such a tight budget. But now we can actually draft some powerhouses. We saw that with all coaches getting like really strong teams. Now, the Terra Captain rule changed though. We don't have. We only have 16 points to select Terra Captains, and the maximum value of the Terra Captains is 9 points. So to give you like an example, the electric fast types are actually at the 9 point value. So that's a classic Terra Captain to choose from. And you're going to see we might have chosen a little bit of that in our team. Spoiler alert. And last of all, I think that's it. We only can draft like three captains maximum. So with that said, and without further ado, let's go and see what we drafted. So this is a little spoiler you saw here in the first slide. We wanted to do like a draft around this little fish because I think it's a little bit overvalued at the point value it has, and I kind of wanna prove myself wrong, and or if I don't, I kind of wanna make a point for this fish to drop in value a little bit. So what's one weakness this fish has? It's actually it's fire type. It's really weak to rocks. So the first thing we needed, I knew, was a good spinner. We needed a top-notch hazard remover so we can bring in this thing safely and we don't have to run heavy-duty boots all weeks. So that's why we got Iron Threads. We were 15 out of 16 coaches in the draft order, but we managed to get our hands on Iron Threads, which is a really good Pokemon. I mean, you can see here its stats. It has a fairly good attack stat, but its defense, it's amazing. It also has a really good speed and a nice HP, which makes it a good tank, in my opinion. The ability is Quark Drive, which I don't think is going to be coming in handy anytime, but nonetheless, this mon is top notch. Its role here is going to be the hazard removal, because we have access to knockoff if they want to actually block the spin, so we can hit ghosts pretty hard. We also have access to stealth rock, which is really good when you're using a wall breaker, because sometimes you need a little bit chip of damage, and with the rocks we're actually going to be hitting those one hit KOs with TU. So that was our first pick. It was 16 points. This Iron Threads in particular was given to me by the cool and a really good friend Brandon P. It's a tiny one, and the first Iron Threads I'm going to be using in my history in Scout and Pilot, and its name is going to be Carlos. So Carlos was our first pick. Second pick was actually TU. I told you I wanted to draft TU, and I was really close to the wheel, so that was perfect for me. I was not in risk of it being sniped. That's why I went for the Iron Threads first. And TU is going to be called Felipe. It costed me 18 points, which is the highest of the Pokemon I drafted. And the ability is going to be Beads of Ruin. So what's the role of this ability? It actually drops the special defense of our opponents by I think 30%, So this mon is going to be hitting like a truck. Look at that beastly special attack in 135. We have actually a decent special defense, but with that low HP, won't be doing much damage anyways. And we had a middling speed, so that's something that we need to take in consideration. If we want to bring this thing in safely, we're going to be needing some slow pivots so we don't take damage. We are weak to rocks, that's why we picked Iron Threads. But Iron Threads also learns Volt Switch, which can let us bring in TU safely. So, for example, if someone wants to like throw a fire attack to Iron Threads, we can actually pivot into TU really easily. So I think that combination is really good for us. So next up, TU is going to be our main wall breaker in this league. So we plan to hit overhit a lot of times, to use twin specs a lot of times, and just watch things drop. Next up is going to be Ogerpon-Wellspring. So I think Ogerpon-Wellspring was a really good point value for us. It was at 15. Ogerpon is going to be called Maria Paz. Its ability is Water Absorb, which is amazing for TU. If someone wants to throw a water attack to TU, we can actually safely go into Waterpon, and Waterpon is going to be healed after that. So what are the perks of actually Waterpon here? Its speed is really good, a really good speed tier in 110. It has a really good attack as well, and the combination of water and grass is kind of hard to wall, not gonna lie. I think it only gets walled by grass attacks. And Ogerpon also has access to knockoff, access to U-turn, access to spikes. So that's really good. Knockoff in particular, it's pretty good because it lets us remove some assault vests that our opponents want to run in order to tank some hits from TU. So it's also really good because if we are in front, if we have Waterpon there in the battlefield, we can threaten with to set up with either Sword Stance or Trailblaze, and our opponent brings in like a physically defensive tag. We can actually go for a U-turn and switch into our TU in order to deal massive damage to whatever wants to come in. So that's going to be the role for Maria Paz, be a setup sweeper and be a wall breaker as well, a physical wall breaker. Next up, we have Diego the Salamence. Diego was at 14 points. We needed actually a ground resist because we were weak to this point to it. We also needed a fighting resist, and this thing is amazing to resist fighting as well. And we needed a dragon in order to keep completing our core. I know cores are not mandatory, but I think they're really good to actually get some key resistances. The dragon type is really good at resisting the elemental types, like lightning, electric, fire, water, and fire. I can't remember the last one. Grass. Okay, sorry. And Salamence has a really good typing. It's quite weak to ice, so I have to be really mindful of that. Luckily, we're not weak to ice as of now because TU actually resists ice. And our other mons actually are neutral to ice, so I can safely switch in a TU into a nice attack going for Salamence. And Salamence has these two abilities that are amazing. Intimidate is going to let me tank some attacks in the physical side with our 95 HP and 80 defense, which actually is more because of the Intimidate. And we have Moxie, which is an amazing ability to set up sweeps and clean whatever's left of our opponent team. So look at this attack, it's a massive attack. So yeah, and we have an amazing move pool. We have like Outrage, Dragon Claw, Earthquake. I think we have Iron Head. I'm not sure about that though. We have access to Roost if we want to be a tank, actually. And we have access to Dual Wing Beat, which is a middling attack, but it's serviceable sometimes. And on the special side, we actually have access to Surf, Flamethrower, Hurricane. So we can actually bring a mixed or a special elements sometimes, and it's going to be working fairly well as well. So that's it for our fourth pick. Our next pick here is going to be Elizabeth, the Kilowatt Troll, at 9 points. So I spoiled you already with the perspective that we could have drafted our first Terra Captain, and Elizabeth is our Terra Captain, and I chose the Ice, Flying, and Ground types. Ice is pretty good coverage. Flying gives me more damage for my stat flying moves, and Ground is actually going to let me hit electric types, because otherwise they all pretty bad our stats. So our ability with Kilowatt Troll is actually Volt Absorb, which lets us tank electric attack that coming for us. Maybe going into Waterpon, although that thing is not weak to electric. And we also have competitive. So against intimidating opponents, we can actually try to predict them bringing in the Intimidate and go for a competitive boost, which will be really good in combination with our ability to Terra this thing. So Kilowatt Troll is our fastest mod. Its speed is pretty high, actually 125, and our special attack is not so good, but we really can boost this attack with Terra and with the combination of some items, for example, Choice Specs or Life or Expert Well sometimes. Kilowatt Troll is also really good because it lets us pivot into our tanks really fast with U-turn or with Volt Switch, and I think Kilowatt Troll is going to be putting a lot of work during this league. So I didn't mention I'm still a little bit under the water, so if you hear me drinking some water, that's why. Next up, who's coming? Next up, it was Azumarill, Roberto the Azumarill at 14 points. So Roberto is actually the culprit, why I decided to do this theme of Latino names, because Roberto was actually the Azumarill that I got for my playthrough of Skeleton Pilot. So that's why I'll be doing this name theme, and I'm going to be using Roberto actually. Roberto is going to stop being our raid Pokemon, and it's going to start being our draft Pokemon now. So Roberto has two abilities which are really useful for us, and those are Huge Power, which increases its attack for massive amounts, and the other one is Sub-Zero, which blocks grass types, grass attacks. So Roberto's fairly bulky. It has a bad speed tier, but that's compensated with the ability to actually go for priority in the form of Aqua Jet, and believe me, Aqua Jets from Azumarills really hurt. Roberto is also going to be, besides our Wall Breaker, is going to be our maybe setup sweeper sometimes, with the ability to run belly drum sets and get everything for priority. And also Roberto can take hits. Its HP is amazing. It has a middling defense and special defense, but I think we can compensate with some citrus berry, for example, if we decide to go for the belly drum set. And we need the priority because up to this point we only had quick attack from Ogerpon, which is not a good, not a strong attack. We might use it sometimes, but we needed some priority. So you are going to notice from now on that we overlap some types here. We overlap here with Ogerpon-Wellspring, but I think that's okay because the typing on Azumarill is amazing, and we didn't have a fairy type before, and Ogerpon and Azumarill attack from different angles. So Ogerpon is really fast and can set up sweep with short stance, and Azumarill is more tanky but more slow as well. Hits harder too without a boost. Next up is Uxie Renato at 10 points. At this point we needed some tanks. We had both Iron Threads and Salamence, which can be considered for some by some like tanks, but we needed something with high defenses. And Uxie was perfect. It has ability to levitate, which is going to be really handy for us if some people want to go for ground attacks against our TU. It also resists fighting, which is fairly good as well, because TU is going to be hit by a lot of fighting attacks, and more importantly is our secondary stealth rocker. So we don't have to run that 100% of the time with Iron Threads. Uxie has a massive move pool. I mean, I cannot tell you what move this thing doesn't get. It has access to U-turn, again knockoff, Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, Yawn. It has access to Thunderbolt, Psychic, Future Sight. It can also be a setup sweeper in a pinch with Calm Mind and Nasty Blood. And as we are going to be building this thing to be a tank, it's often going to be our slow U-turner to go into either Azumarill or TU in order to break some teams. So I think this Renato works amazingly. It was a suggestion by our friend Raymond, and I think he nailed it with the suggestion. To be honest with you. So next up we have Mach. Mercedes the Mach at 5 points is going to be another Terra Captain for us. So I think I messed up here. Ice is actually not a type we chose for Mach. It's actually going to be, if I remember correctly, flying, dark and water. So dark is going to be for it to resist psychic types coming for it. Flying is going to be to resist or be immune to ground attacks, and water is overall a really good defensive Terra type. So Mach has two abilities which could come in handy here. The first one is Poison Touch to give us some reach, because Mach hits hard. It does hit hard, but it sometimes needs a little bit of reach to cripple our opponents. And Sticky Hold, which is going to be stopping those knockoff coming for our items. So this is a really good switching into knockoff. So what's good about Mach, it's this amazing HP stat and this really good special defense as well at 100. So Mach is a really good user of actually Assault Vest, because we don't need much investment in our special defense. We can invest in either our defense or our attack. Mach could actually become really dangerous. So sadly Mach cannot pivot, but it has access to Drain Punch to recover some health, has access to knockoff, has access to Toxic Spikes, which is really good against some team who don't have the ability to absorb these Toxic Spikes. And spoiler alert, I think there are a few teams in the league that don't have the best hazard removal, so hopefully that could come in handy sometimes. Hopefully Mach would be good for us. I think it makes a great core with Uxie. Actually, if something wants to go for a ground attack against Mach, we can switch in Uxie. On the other hand, if something wants to knock off Uxie, we can actually go into Mach with the Sticky Hold ability, and we're not going to be losing our item that way. So that's really good. Uxie also is resistant to Psychic, so that's interesting for Mach as well. So I don't think, I'm not going to say that I will not be tearing Mach sometimes, because Kilowatt might not be the peak for all weeks, but Mok I think is going to be a really good teammate to support the rest of our cast. Next up, we got Felicia the Hat Ring at 11 points. So I'm really sad Felicia is not able to Terra anymore, because it used to be a really good Terra captain. But we drafted Felicia for one thing. You noticed it overlaps the typing of both Uxie and Azumarill, but we have the ability Magic Bounce. So as I mentioned, this team is fairly weak to rocks. Look at this. TU is weak to rocks. Both Salamence and Kilowatt are weak to rocks. So we needed something to actually prevent rocks to come into our side of the battlefield. So if we see a team that is really good at stacking hazards, maybe Hatterene is the bring. With both Hatterene and Iron Threads, is going to be really difficult to stack hazards on us. Another reason why we drafted Hatterene is that it's a really slow pivot. So Hatterene gets baton pass, so we can come in with Hatterene to absorb some hits and actually baton pass into either one of our walls, that being Azumarill, wall breakers, that being Azumarill or TU. So that's a really good reason for Hatterene, in my opinion. Hatterene is also low-key really useful because it hits like a truck. With training keys, even if you're not terrain, you have a good recovery move, and you also have really good utility in the form of nozzle. You can pivot with Healing Wish or I think Memento. I'm not sure if this learns Memento, but Healing Wish I know it does, which can actually heal some of our Pokemon if they're not feeling the best. And we also have access to a setup sweeper in the form of Calm Mind. So Calm Mind, because our defense is really good, we can actually go for max HP and max defense, and that will give us some opportunities to set up in front of physical attackers. So lastly, at this point, I think we only had like 3 points left, and we could grab like a 3-pointer at this point, but I decided maybe we should grab a 2-pointer in order to make it our Terra Captain. And if you look closely, we don't have any hazard spin blocker. Our ghost, we don't have a ghost type. Sorry about that, guys. So I decided to grab myself Pokemon coming back to the Takama Terranitas. I think I drafted it in Season 1, and in Season 4, she's going to be coming back to us. It's going to be Rosita the Mischievous at 2 points with ability Levitate, which is amazing. Again, we have 2 Levitators here and 2 Pokemon that actually fly, so are flying types. So we're really good against ground attacks. So Mischievous doesn't have the best stats as you see here, but sorry about that, guys. It's going to be our Terra Captain, and we chose Electric because in combination with Levitate we lose all our weakness. Still, it's really good to as a defensive type, because again in combination with Levitate, it's actually only weak to fire and fighting, and people are not going to be throwing fighting attacks against Mischievous. And last of all, Fairy, because we can pull off Scream. What's a Flutter Mane with it? That stab combination is really difficult for some Pokemon to deal with. And with Rosita, we have access to a lot of utility in the form of Thunder Wave, maybe Will-O-Wisp. We have recovery in the form of Pain Split and Training Keys. And we have actually really good coverage with Thunderbolt and Shadow Bolt. So that's going to be it, guys, for the Takama Terranitas this season. I want to ask you all to hit that like, subscribe, and I will see you for our week 1, probably during next week. Uh, Bye.